Thank you. Next, we have Bob Pejman, then French Thompson. Then we'll have the presentation of the plan.
Thank you, Mayor Ortega, council members. Name is Bob Pejman, addresses on the record. And we heard a lot of academic theory. I just want to talk about some of the realities. And I want to concentrate on the street element part of this. And so just before coming here, I looked at the council report for this item. There were about 100 pages of emails that you received as input. Most of those emails were brutal on this whole complete street concept, which is the same as the street diet, but that's a much nicer name. I just want to put something on the projector. These are the 100 pages of emails received. These are some of the words that describe the street element of the plan: crazy, unsafe, absurd, ludicrous, stupid, destructive, causing pain and suffering, confusing, ridiculous, terrible, dumb, insane, reckless, miserable. And then there's the one word from one email says one of the worst ideas ever suggested. These are not my words. In fact, I didn't even send an email in on this. I encourage you to read these. These are your constituents. I didn't see much positive comments on this at all. And I want to go to this whole concept of this plan. In general, this plan was not, the residents didn't ask for this plan. This plan came from staff. So the question is, what kind of outreach did they do? When you look at this, a central premise of this plan is complete streets, which basically eliminates lanes. So you're going to take a bunch of streets, you're going to eliminate vehicular lanes and replace them with bike lanes. Even though this is not really put out there, the concept is to slow down traffic, make people miserable in traffic so they give up their cars and look for alternate modes of transportation. But what are those alternate modes of transportation? You have the mass transit, which is not going to work. The buses are currently riding empty. Then you have bikes. Let's point to the demographic of Scottsdale. 100,000 residents are over the age of 55. And by the way, those people constitute about 75% of the voters that voted for you. So do you expect those residents 5 months out of the year in excruciating heat to get on a bicycle as a mode of transportation, not for fun, as a mode of transportation, go to work and shopping? This is the emperor's clothes. Nobody wants to come out and say that this doesn't work because nobody wants to be labeled as anti-green. But the reality is, in Scottsdale, people are not going to give up their cars. So this plan will actually result in building congestion, intentionally spending tens of millions of dollars to do that. So it's not free either. And at the end, ironically, you will end up polluting the environment with cars stuck in traffic. And what a great concept for a sustainability program. We need outreach. This has to go back to the drawing board. And this particular aspect is very polarizing and needs to be vetted with the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, French Thompson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members, my council members. French Thompson, 7148 East Main Street in Scottsdale. When I was reading this, there's an awful lot of stuff in there, but the one thing that I really did notice was the switch from calling it lane diets to a weird word, complete streets. It sounds to me like it's less complete streets, but I think it's just wording to hide what was really going to be happening, which is removing traffic lanes. So the city's already approved tens of thousands of new residents coming to Scottsdale, and the transportation department wants to start causing more congestion, pollution, accidents, and aggravation by limiting road access to the city. Now, many people come here from other cities so that they can work here, and then they have to use those roads to go home. So when you start cutting down lanes, like I drive on McDowell, I see what happens on McDowell. There's 3 lanes going one way, 3 lanes going the other way. All 3 lanes are full, and when there's a red light, traffic backs up. So if you restrict that down to 2 lanes, that's even more traffic backed up, Cars sitting there when the lights are red, more pollution, more aggravation. So this just seems like a case of making work by breaking something that doesn't need to be fixed and spending money where we actually need to be fiscally responsible. With all the cost overruns that are happening with the city right now, I just don't think this would be responsible government to be taking out lanes in the roads when they're perfectly good to start with. Now, I ride a bicycle. I know Councilwoman Solange rides a bicycle, but I just did a U.S. Census report and said less than 0.6% of people ride to work. So if you're taking lanes out, you're taking lanes away from 99.4% of the people to give it to 0.6% of the people. And that's assuming they're going to ride year-round, which they're not. I mean, literally, I don't know if you guys know this, but when it gets cold, you can put more clothes on. Trust me, when it's really hot, you can only take off so many and you get arrested. So you can't cool off riding in the summer. It just, you can ride in the winter. You can put on more clothes. So with all of this stuff that's going on, this is one of the things that just jumped out to me like a sore thumb. There's a lot better ways to get road lanes for bikes. There's much better ways to do it, a lot more affordable. I just ask you, really, if somebody says, oh, it's okay, it's federal money, you know, that federal money is all of our taxpayer money too. So if it's federal money, it's my tax money, it's your tax money. So it's not free money. So let's not just say, hey, it's not our money, we can just spend it. Let's be really fiscally responsible and don't try to fix things that aren't broken. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. With that, I'll close public comment.